More than 40 years ago, a film critic Roger Ebert claimed that each film is only as good as its villains. If you look around you, most movies or series nowadays must have villain or antagonist in it, even in a kids show. And all thanks to the villains, there were plenty of movies nowadays has become largely iconic today. Assalamualaikum and a very good day everyone. My name is Muhammad Amar Azim bin Oli. Ladies and gentlemen, be honest with yourself. Have you ever rooted for the villain instead of the hero? Let it be the Joker, Loki, Thanos, Maleficent, or any other villain that you could think of. Maybe you like them because of their cool appearance, but let's not talk about that. Let's focus on their personality. Don't you think it's weird to fondly love and to support a character that plans to rule the world and has committed mass murder in order to achieve their desired goals? What if I tell you the reason that we love villains is not because they are evil, but because they are just like us? So today, I'm going to answer your question about the strong attraction towards the antagonist from any shows you have watched according to psychology perspective. By listening to this talk, besides knowing the reason, you will then learn to understand your emotions and moral complexity eventually. Somehow, this will help you see how your mind processes morality, empathy, and identity through entertainment. So there are three significant points that I'm going to expose to you, starting with number one, the villain is actually yourself. Number two, the brain's interest in resolving the conflicts. And lastly, number three, the villain is more human. So without further ado, let's start with our first point, which is the villain is actually yourself, but more evil. Yes, we only have one body. But let's be honest, we have countless and difference of personality according to the settings. Sometimes we are kind, disciplined, but sometimes it's the other way around. Ladies and gentlemen, the so called evil and bad side of your personality is called the shadow self. According to a psychologist named Carl Jung, it is a personality that we hide because they are considered unacceptable, socially awkward, and undesirable. And this personality inherits negative emotions such as sadness and rage. But wait, what does this personality has to do with our attraction toward the villains? Let's take this one as an example. So, you must have met this one person in your life that you really wish that you can smash their head or burn their car. But at the end of the day, do you ever have a chance to do that? You have the chance, but you never did that. You hide their personality, or else you'll be in jail by now. But look at the villains. They can do whatever things that we can't do freely. They are not afraid of the laws, of course, but what I try to say here is that we are drawn to villains because they embody our shadow, allowing us to experience it in a safe way. In other words, the villain is actually volunteering us to do all of our undisciplined actions so that we can know what are the possible consequences that will happen to us if we do this and if we do that. Thus, the villain's action gives satisfaction to us. They are restricted to something because we really want to be free. But at the end of the day, the only thing that free is the villain. So that is the first point. Let's move on to the second point, which is the brain's interest in resolving the conflicts. Whenever we mention feelings, emotion, and personality, they all start inside our head. But before we delve deeper into the second point, answer this question. Which one of these villain is reasonable? A villain that killed a group of soldiers who accidentally killed his daughter, or B, a villain that went maniac to find a cure for his lovely wife. Actually, that's not correct answer because both are insane. But you have made your answer because that's what makes you love the villain. Their intention pulls you into a moral question. When we watch a character do something terrible but somehow understandable, our mind experiences what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, a mental conflict between unreasonable actions with reasonable intentions. That tension keeps us hooked because our brains naturally want to resolve the conflicts. Villains make stories more interesting because they force us to do mental and emotional work. When a character is both wrongdoing and understandable, our mind experiences a kind of cognitive tension. And that tension triggers curiosity, moral reflection, and emotional swings. So instead of simply hating the villain, we think about them. We question what's truly right and what's truly wrong. And that questioning keeps us emotionally involved. Since we have gone through the first point and the second point, we can create a third point and we can call it as reality check. So for our last point, the villain is more human. Hero is strong, of course, and the characteristics of the heroes must be calm, kind, always in control, and forgiving, even to big problems. But look at the villains. The villain characteristic usually is betrayed, jealous, imperfect, lonely, and desperate. And this personality of the villain are more likely to be felt by us normal humans that have very messy emotions. Since we can relate with the villain more than the heroes do, this allows a bond to be shaped between the audience with the fictional character. And based on media psychology, this is called parasocial bonding. This bond allows the audience to see their own reflection inside the villain. Instead of admire the villain, they form connection with the villain. There's this one video in social media about the process of a character from very kind, like an angel, become bad, like an evil. The video is entertaining, but there was this one comment that hooked my attention, which was written like this: "We love heroes as kids, but we understand villains as adults. Why? Because villain makes mistakes frequently. They are often left out in public, and they always lose control, like us, ordinary people." So those are 3 points of why we are psychologically mad in love with the bad guys in the show. So what can we conclude here? Now we see that we don't love villains because they are evil, but because they are more realistic. The villain not is the villain. We don't love villains because of their action, but because they stimulate our hidden emotions, our moral conflicts, and our imperfect humanity. They willingly be the example for our shadow self to maintain our desire, sanity, and humanity. They challenge our sense of morality, make the story more engaging by forcing us to think about what is right and what is wrong. Instead of seeing villains as purely bad, appreciate how writers use them to explore deeper human themes like pain, ambition, or justice so that we can relate with ourselves. So that is all from me. Thank you so much for listening. Bye bye.